Thank you. Please be seated. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the November meeting of the full council, where we have several important items of business to consider. So let's move straight on the agenda. Item number 1. Do we have any apologies? Councillor Munson.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Sandhu, Councillor Alison Martin, and Councillors Jangir Khan and Baggy Shankar are expected, but will be joining us later.
Any more apologies? Councillor Cuss.
Councillor Prosser, Councillor Alan Lindsay and Councillor Alan Graves. Thank you.
Councillor Kerr.
Councillor Richard Hudson.
Any? Thank you. Before I start the meeting, can I ask everybody to put the phones on silent, please? Councillor Swan? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Item 2, any declarations of interest? Councillor Wright? Any declaration of interest? No. Sorry, Councillor Smell, I beg your pardon.
Sorry, I do apologise. As me in my yes, as a sorry, yeah, Mr. Mayor, there's a declaration as a private interest on the motions around support for pubs. I'm obviously a licensee for the White Swan pub in Spondon. I've been told that I will be able to participate in the meeting and vote, but it's just a declaration of a private interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Emily, over to you.
Thank you, councillors. As you are aware, at item 10 of the agenda, we have the report of the Independent Remuneration Panel. Given the content of the report, I'm granting a dispensation to all councillors for the duration of this meeting from the restrictions under section 31(4)(a) and (b) of the Localism Act 2011 to allow all councillors to participate in discussions and vote on this item on the agenda without the need to declare a specific interest.
Thank you, Emily. Item 3, minutes of the meeting of council held on 17th of September 2025 and November the 6th, 2025. We will now approve the minutes of both our September meeting and the extraordinary meeting that took place early this month. Will somebody move them, please? Councillor Hesselgrave. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Peatfield, thank you. Item 4, announcements from the Mayor. I have several announcements to make this evening. Yes. Can we approve the minutes, please? All in favour? That's approved. Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Item 4, announcements from the Mayor. Before we begin, I'd like to welcome all those who have chosen to view this evening's meeting from the public gallery. It's always encouraging to see local residents take an interest in the business of the council. May I remind everyone present that it is a formal meeting, and I ask that you allow for proceedings to be conducted without interruption. Please show respect for all speakers and for the democratic process by listening quietly throughout. Your cooperation is greatly appreciated and will help ensure the meeting runs smoothly. In recent weeks, I've had the pleasure of attending a wide range of engagements across the city. I was delighted to mark the opening of University of Derby's new £75 million business school at the Cavendish building on Agard Street, a significant investment in our city's educational and economic future. We are also pleased to host a group of international relations and politics students at the Council House, offering them an insight into the work of the Council and the role of the civic leadership. I had the honour of unveiling 2 new burial markers for American Civil War veterans laid to rest in Derby, including the last verified Civil War veteran to have died in the United Kingdom, who passed away in 1940. It was a moving occasion that highlighted our city's unexpected but important links to international history. I was warmly welcomed at the Diwali Festival of Lights celebration at the Hindu temple in Pear Tree, joining the community in marking this joyous and spiritual significant festival. In addition, Derby's Royal Naval Association and Derbyshire Submariners held their annual Trafalgar commemorations. whereas proud to be paid tribute to those who have served at sea and to honour the enduring traditions of the Royal Navy. Her Royal Highness, the Princess Royal, visited Valiant's hot water cylinder plant on Pride Park, and it was a privilege to join the visit and witness the pride felt by staff in showcasing Derby's manufacturing excellence. Finally, it was a pleasure to be present at the University of Derby's winter graduation ceremonies, celebrating the achievements of students who will now go on to contribute to the life and prosperity of our city and beyond. I would like to place on record my sincere thanks to everyone involved in delivering Derby's recent Remembrance Sunday and Armistice Day commemorations. It was a privilege to lead the service in the marketplace, supported by the Council's civic and military partners, whose dedication ensures these occasions are conducted with the dignity they deserve. I know that many councillors will have taken part in services within their own wards or supported community initiatives, marking this important moment in our national calendar. Across Derby, churches, community groups, schools, veterans, organisations and residents of all ages came together to remember. Alongside the city's main remembrance commemorations, I also attended services at Chaddiston Schools, the Royal School for Deaf and Derbyshire Freemasons, and a community-led poppy display unveiling in Littleover organised by Carlisle Against Crime and attended by Her Majesty's Lord Lieutenant. Each of these events reflected the depth of commitment across our communities to honouring those who have served. Remembrance holds a profound and significance to so many people in our city. We all know local families with personal connections to those who have served and sacrificed. Each year, these commemorations offer us the opportunity not only to honour the memory of those who gave their lives in defence for our freedoms, but also to reaffirm our collective commitment to peace, understanding and the values they fought to protect. I was deeply moved to see so many residents gathering to pay their respects and to stand together as a community, a solemn reflection. Thank you to everyone involved. Item 5, statements by members of the Council Cabinet. We now move to statements from members of the Council Cabinet. None have been received in advance of this meeting. Item 6, questions from the members of the public. Next, we will hear responses to public questions directed to Cabinet members. 5 have been received in advance of this evening. When putting forward your supplementary question, please ensure your microphone is switched on and that you speak clearly. Please remember that any supplementary question must relate directly to the written reply that you've been given. Keep your questions conscious and please note that this part of the meeting is for questions only. Statements are not permitted. So, first question is from Mr. Derek Gold to Councillor Peatfield. Mr. Gold, are you in? Not here. No, okay, not here. Second question is a question from Alan Burton to Councillor Swan. Okay, he's not here. Third question is from Simon Bacon to Councillor Onuwa. Is he here?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
is he? Councillor Bacon, good evening.
Oh, I've done it again. No thanks. Thanks for your response, Councillor, to my question in relation to targeting bins on streets in the Normanton ward. I'm pleased to read that it looks like you're moving forward with something in relation to that in that ward. Can you give a rough start date for action to begin in the Normanton ward, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. It was a pleasure. With an exact date, I can't, but as I said in my statement, we're working on a wider package so that I will let not just you, but everyone know in due time.
Thank you, Councillor Onuwa. Next question is from Ben Sage to Councillor Peatfield. Mr. Sage.
Yep, I'm here. Yeah, I do have another question. Thank you for the response to begin. The only other thing I wanted to know is, so even though some of the work was done in the early hours, the costs incurred will be part of that standard ongoing contract.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I didn't understand what the question was.
Right, the question I asked was, what was the total cost incurred by the council to remove Union Jack and St George's flags across all wards? Please provide a full breakdown of all associated costs, including any subcontractor expense. I got the answer, thank you. I just wanted to know, as part of that, So even though some of the flags were removed in the early hours, I just wanted to know, is that part of the standard ongoing contract, those costs incurred as well?
Right, I understand. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, so we are in contract with an external operator, and they have removed flags so far as part of their contract, regardless of what time of day or night that they've done that to this date.
Thank you, Councillor Peatfield. Next question is from Simon Bacon to Councillor Peatfield. Simon, over to you again.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you for your reply, Councillor Peatfield. So you're confirming that no documents were created from February 2023 onwards until my FOI in January 2025. What date were those documents created? And please don't just say prior to February 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. I'm not going to be able to give you that date off the top of my head, I'm afraid. I'm going to have to come back to you with that response. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peatfield. Item 7, questions related to Derbyshire Fire Authority or Derby Homes not have been received. Item 8, questions from non-council cabinet members. We now move to questions from non-council cabinet members. 10 have been received on this occasion and 2 have been grouped together. So first question is Councillor Hudson to Councillor Khan. Councillor Khan. Okay, over to the next question. Councillor Pandey to Councillor Onwa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the answer. What happened when the flooding happened, there were 3 streets in Mackworth that got flooded, and we made the report and the gully came out, like it says here as well, and they cleaned the drains and the flooding was dealt with. So we have these gullies, the drain cleaning lorries have been in place, but it seems like there is no schedule. It quite reflects in your answer as well. No schedule is there to clean the drains on a rota basis. Wouldn't it be a better option if council adopts a rota rather than this ad hoc approach and dealing with the things at the last minute? Thank you very much.
Councillor
Onwa. Thank you, Councillor Pandey. And of course, we're happy as Mackworth and New Zealand Ward councillors to see that those flooding issues were dealt with. And of course, yes, a rota is being worked on, and as you've clearly said in your question, it would be better than an ad hoc. But the thing with ad hoc as well is those will always supersede whatever rota there is. So, there.
Thank you, Councillor Onwa. Next question is, I think it's a joint question, but I think, Councillor Kerr, you have a supplementary for Councillor Kozlowski? Sorry, I beg your pardon, it's Councillor Onwa, sorry.
Yes, the line's in one place.
Line's in one, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the answer. I'm left, though, from your summary as to how risk and problematic locations are assessed as part of the prioritisation of gully cleansing.
Councillor Onwa.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. I'm sure I can get that across to you after this meeting.
Next question is Councillor Wright to Councillor Kozlowski.
No further questions, thank you.
Thank you. Next question is Councillor Smell to Councillor Peatfield. Thank you. Over to Councillor Cuss for Councillor Onwa.
Thank you for the response. However, I did raise it via the method which you put in the answer, and hence we brought it to the council because I had no response until this morning. It was initially raised in mid-August by a resident and then raised by myself in October, and despite myself and council support chasing this issue, we didn't have any response. So maybe you can have a look at the communications and see if we can get better communication with councillors and residents. Thank you.
Councillor.
Well, thanks, Councillor Cuss. I'll say in the future, if you've had no response from officers, please email me and then I can chase up personally.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Wright to Councillor Chambers.
Yes, please, Mr Mayor. Councillor Chambers, thank you for the response, and it's reassuring to know that you're committed to ensuring any risks to community safety are properly monitored and addressed. However, if you've got no data to support that risk assessment, how on earth are you going to do that? So the question, and just for reassurance, the data I provided was from Derbyshire Constabulary, so it doesn't need to be checked. I got it through a Freedom of Information request. So can I ask the question, is 33 offences by 16 offenders over the last 12 months from residents of the station and the Midland hotels, have you got any concerns that's not a threat to public safety?
Councillor Chambers.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. We too have put an FOI into Derbyshire Constabulary because we haven't got that data. Obviously, any offence is a concern to the Cabinet. However, we do have strong partnership with the police and other agencies. But these types of crimes of this type are actually the police's responsibility to report to the Home Office. If you could provide your verified source, that would be great, because we haven't received ours yet, and then we can look into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chambers. Councillor Kerr to Councillor Martin. As Councillor Martin's not here, have you... She's not here. So
you have to submit a...
we have to give you a written response. Oh, do you want to answer that question on behalf of... Yeah? Go on then, Councillor Kerr.
Thank you. Advice from Hertfordshire and West Essex Integrated Care Board, and no doubt other integrated care boards, makes it clear that care homes should provide their residents with vitamin D. Presumably, there isn't yet an equivalent advice note for Derby and Derbyshire. When the advice is based on national guidance, do we need to wait for a workshop to scope the issues rather than just providing the advice now?
Yeah, I don't really have a response, I'm afraid, Lucy, but I'll leave Councillor Martin to get back to you when she returns.
Thank you. Next question, Councillor Wright to Councillor Chambers again.
Yes, please, Mr Mayor. Again, thank you for the response, and it's reassuring to know that the Council's committed to safety of the Jewish community. And I recognise your full assurance that arrangements are proportionate, but you do mention that you will speak to police and relevant security partners. Could I ask you to contact the Derbyshire Jewish community as well, because I'm sure they'd be just as interested in your assurances. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. I'm not sure if you've met with the Jewish community. I've met with Eve twice in the last 2 months. So I am in contact, and I did actually contact the Derby Jewish community when obviously the terrible thing happened in Manchester. Our new cohesion officer began her role last week, and she'll be working very closely with every community across the city, ensuring all residents, including the Jewish community, are supported in exercising their right to feel safe and protected. I can also share with you the Council House lockdown procedures, along with details of the current reviews and assessments that are taking place. In addition, I can provide the proactive steps the Council are taking in preparation for the implementation of Protect Duty Martin's Law. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Chambers. Next question, Councillor Wright. Again to Councillor Chambers. You must have said standing, Sarah. Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Can somebody just give Councillor Chambers a glass of water, please?
Yeah, again, thank you for the answer. I do find it surprising, though, that we can't find out from Derbyshire Constabulary whether there's been any referrals for grooming gangs from Derbyshire, knowing the history of grooming gangs in Derby and Derbyshire and around Operation Retriever and the subsequent Operation Kern, when a lot of people were arrested and a lot of lessons learned. And you made mention in your answer to question K, you've got a very strong police relationship. A quick phone call to the superintendent would tell you whether Derbyshire's made any referrals, and that would be an ideal opportunity to reassure our residents that there's no further investigation in Derby. Now, on tenterhooks, we don't know what the position is. Thank you.
Councillor Chambers.
Councillor Wright. Obviously, in the response, we've said that there's publicly no information available. What I can say, though, is yesterday, and this gives me a lot of encouragement and reassurance, Safe and Sound officially opened their city centre base, which will be a real game changer for the young people who are at risk of exploitation in Derby. They go out 4 nights a week talking to the young people of Derby. They go in schools throughout the week, and they've helped over 300 children in Derby over the last year. So that does reassure me that whilst we don't have the figures, we have got proactive work out there and preventative work for those people that are vulnerable and may be exploited.
Thank you, Councillor Chambers. Right, next item, item 9, the Youth Justice Plan 2025-26. The next item of business relates to the Youth Justice Plan 2025-26. The Youth Justice Plan forms part of the Council's policy framework, having been recommended by the Council Cabinet and considered by the Children and Young People's Overview and Scrutiny Board. Last month, it is now presented to full Council for determination. Councillor Hestergrave, as a Cabinet member with the responsibility for the Youth Justice, I understand that you will move the recommendations and that Councillor Tweller, Chair of the Children and Young People's Scrutiny Board, has agreed to second it. Can I invite Councillor Hestergrave to move the recommendations, please?
Thank you, Chair. I move the report as tabled and seek Council's approval for this. It's been well scrutinised, and I thank the relevant Scrutiny Board for looking at this in detail. I should say that while that procedure was going on, they were not aware, but we were told in confidence and with a high expectation that the service which produces this report, the Youth Justice Service, received an outstanding report from His Majesty's Inspector of Probation, and it was outstanding across all 4 characters, which is the first time an authority, unity authority, has had that designation in a report. The present report is an iteration and embellishment of previous reports and represents outstanding practice. I thank the Scrutiny Board for its thorough investigation and thorough examination of it. Certain things have been added, but I don't think it adds a great deal to the substance of the report, because in their items which will be embellished or added to, they are very small numbers, and fluctuations will occur naturally with the cohort of people that they deal with. But it's there for consideration at future meetings. The Youth Justice Board members, which is all the professionals involved, including the courts, magistrates, and also, of course, representatives from the council, and in particular the voluntary service, which liaises with us in helping victims, and that's a real strong element of the report. So I just commend this report as tabled, and I understand it will be seconded by Councillor Truella.
Thank you, Councillor Hestergrave. Councillor Tweller, would you like to speak as a seconder?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mr Mayor. More than happy to second the report. I just want to again thank you to all the members of the Children and Young People's Scrutiny Board and Councillor John Wright just for the discussion we had in our meeting and the recommendations that followed from that. And again, just to congratulate everyone on achieving that astounding result. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tweller. Any further speakers on this? Can we move to the vote, please? All in favour? Thank you. Item 10, report of the Independent Remuneration Panel. The next item of business is to consider a report of the Independent Remuneration Panel in respect of its recommendations on council's allowances and expenses. We will shortly move to a debate on the recommendations and consider the report of the IRP following the review that I've undertaken on behalf of the council over the previous 12 months. The chair of the Independent Remuneration Panel, Mr Narinder Sharma, isn't in attendance this evening, and I will shortly have a procedural motion to allow Mr Sharma to address council before we move to a debate on the substantive recommendations. Before we begin, I will remind all councillors that you may choose to move and vote on the recommendations either individually or collectively. I would also like to place on record my thanks to Narinder and his fellow panellists for the comprehensive report that they have produced. I will therefore move recommendations 2.1 and invite the Chair of the IRP to address the meeting. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Peatfield. Move to the vote. All in favour? Okay. Mr Sharma, would you like to present the report from the Independent Remuneration Panel, please? Put your mic on, please.
Oh, I do beg your pardon. I'm obviously a novice here. Thank you for allowing me to address you today. An effective scheme of remuneration is a vital foundation to promoting good governance and a robust democratic culture in Derby. I've been associated with Derby for 30 years, and I'm proud to say that I think we have an excellent democratic culture in Derby, and just listening to some of the interactions that I've heard just the last few minutes indicates that. The panel has attempted to promote and support a system that promotes civic participation and leadership. This not only, we believe, attracts diverse and talented individuals to public service, but also enables them to focus on addressing the needs of their individual communities. We know, of course, there are considerable political, financial constraints on local authorities, and in no way is the panel trying to say that this number of pounds equals the effort and inputs that all of you put into your roles. We have to strike a right balance between reflecting the role of a councillor whilst also being realistic under the circumstances. Okay, as a panel, we were pleased to see that you accepted our recommendations from our last review in 2021. We wanted to increase the basic allowance in line with our neighbouring authorities and to adopt an index to the local government pay award. I remind you that at that time, this council had not awarded any sort of award to itself for 11 years. So it was shocking, yes. We're proud to recommend maintaining this index, recognising its importance in maintaining a fair and competitive scheme and reflecting the ongoing commitment and responsibilities of our councillors. I note there has been a new intake of councillors since our last review, and we hope that our work played a small part in attracting a diverse and talented cohort. In this review, our panel has focused on the council scheme of special responsibility allowances. SRAs are an important mechanism to compensate councillors for undertaking some of the council's most challenging and demanding roles. Our review process attempted to be very thorough. We sent out we invited input from all councillors, a written input. Then we met with all leaders of all parties and tried to have multiple iterations that reflected the input that we received from our written submissions as well as from the individual interviews that we had with prominent members of council. We tried to amend the council scheme of SRAs to achieve effectiveness and proportionality. I believe we achieved that. We put in appropriate incentives for participation, like in the case of licensing committee members, or by recognising key roles in the council which have so far not been remunerated, like the chair of the Standards Committee. We are committed to regular reviews of the scheme, noting the present period of change for Derby on account of local government reorganisation. I want to thank my fellow panel members, Trudy Hanson and Ron Priest. Their insight and their experience was invaluable in doing this. I also want to thank Democratic Services. The department is second to none. I'm familiar with quite a few across the country, and in particular, the officer who was servicing our needs. Jack Roberts, they really are a talented bunch of fellows, yeah. We're also grateful to the members who participated in the various consultations, sharing their experiences and perspectives that greatly enriched our deliberations. So I urge you to support your continuing work by accepting our recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Narinda, for your comprehensive report and the time that you and your fellow panellists have devoted to gathering evidence and preparing your recommendations. We will now debate these recommendations with regard to the views of the IRP. I understand that the Leader of the Council has indicated that they are prepared to move the recommendations to allow for them to be debated in full. Councillor Peatfield, over to you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And I'd like to also extend my thanks to Narinda and the Independent Remuneration Panel for their hard work over the last 12 months on reviewing these. I know that they've conducted many interviews and done a lot of benchmarking, spoken to a lot of people, and likewise, thank you. Likewise, I extend our thanks to Democratic Services team as well. I would like to move recommendations 2.2 to 2.3, and I do suggest that we take those recommendations as a whole. I will just remind the Chamber that I am only moving these so that they can be debated. It's certainly, they're not my recommendations, but it is for us all to discuss if we wish to. I have been asked to remind the Chamber that if we do depart from any of the recommendations, we do need to have good reason, and those reasons need to be presented in the Chamber this evening. And we are duty-bound to have regard for the IRP's recommendations. I think that, personally, I welcome a lot of the resolutions that this report brings, especially with the subcommittee licensing attendance issues. That appears to, the new changes to that appear to hopefully resolve that issue that we've had. I believe that these allowances seem to be more proportionate to the workload. They seem to be more consistent, especially for vice chairs, and it creates more equality across the committees. So with that, I'll just move the recommendations, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Peatfield. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Hasselgrave. Any more speakers on these amendments? Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I'd like to thank the IRP for all the work they put in for this, and in particular for the removal of the SRA for the Personnel Committee Chairman, and that's me. We don't do much now, and so it does seem wrong to be trough feeding and taking money out of the system for something that's we're not really doing. I would only suggest that respectfully suggest that a future review of the IRP, that they probably look at, for the Personnel Committee or Chair, Vice Chair, whoever, that they look at an allowance similar to the licensing where it's per hearing or meeting. I'm only saying that because at the moment we all know what's happened in Birmingham with the bin strikes and so on. And now if something similar was to happen in Derby, which it's possible, then we might be in a position where the Personnel Committee is meeting regularly. And all of a sudden, it's not really fair then. So that's my only comment, really. But thank you for all the hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Any more speakers on the amendments? Okay, can I move to the vote then, please? All in favour? Anybody against?
It's passed.
Okay, that's passed. Thank you. Right, items 11 to 12. We will now consider the two notices of motion received ahead of this evening's meeting. Item number 11, supporting Derby's pubs, breweries and hospitality sector. Moved by Councillor Munnell and seconded by Councillor Hassel. Councillor Munnell, over to you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. And I'm very proud to be bringing this crucial motion to full council this evening, but in particular because I'm bringing it on behalf of my colleague and my deputy leader, Councillor John Smale. Many will know that Councillor Smale can be found in many of Derby's famous watering holes. Not always having a pint after the football, but in particular because he works in the hospitality sector. John has a genuine frontline understanding of this industry because he works and breathes it every single day. He lives the crisis that this motion describes, and it is precisely because of his expertise and dedication that I am moving this urgent motion to bring his voice and experience to this chamber. This motion is not about politics as usual. It is about the survival of a battered and bruised industry. It is about protecting jobs, and it is about our city. Derby is a capital for real ale. Our pubs and breweries and our entire hospitality sector are not a novelty. They are the heart, the heritage, and the engine of our city's nighttime economy. But that heart is slowly failing and withering away. While the government talks about a vibrant nighttime economy, their actions are pushing it into the long, dark night. We are now facing a staggering reality. Across England and Wales, around 80 pubs close their doors every single month in the first quarter of this year. Our communities are being hollowed out, jobs are being lost, and Derby City's unique nighttime cultural identity is at risk. So what is the government's grand solution to this problem? Their solution is to just simply relax licensing laws, to tell exhausted publicans struggling to pay increases in national insurance, VAT, high energy bills, rising minimum wage, that you just need to stay open later. As the motion rightly says, this is not support, it is a bad joke. It is a joke that confirms what the sector has already and always suspected, that this Labour government does not understand the nighttime economy, that it does not understand the pressures that this sector is under, and that, quite frankly, Labour must hate fun. They don't understand that extending hours is meaningless. Councillor Shanker, you keep heckling me, but there's only one drama queen on this council, that is me, and I will not be usurped by a false pretender such as yourself.
Let him carry on, please. Come on, we all want to hear him.
Don't just take it from me. The experts are turning their backs on this policy and this Labour government. Take Sacha Lord. Now, for those of you who don't know who he is, and I suspect many in the middle won't know, he is the co-founder of the UK's biggest festivals, Parklife and the Warehouse Project. He is a hugely respected figure in the nighttime economy. He is a Labour member. He is a former Labour donor. And he also previously worked as a SAR for the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham. He is a man that is now so disillusioned with the government's reckless policies on hiking national insurance and failing to cut VAT that he has publicly stated that he is reconsidering his own membership of the Labour Party and that the hospitality sector and the nighttime economy are, and I quote, being thrown to the wolves. That is how serious this is. When the experts who helped to build the nighttime economy are turning their back against the government, you know their policy is fundamentally broken. The impact of the government's choice is stark. 1/3 of hospitality businesses are now operating at a loss, and this is as a direct result of the increase in national insurance, crushing business rates, and increasing energy costs. This motion, therefore, is unequivocal in our response. Firstly, to express its full support for Derby's pubs, breweries and hospitality businesses, recognising their vital contribution to the city's economy, culture and our communities. Secondly, we call on the government to go far beyond its current proposals and introduce meaningful measures, including VAT reductions, cuts to national insurance, zero business rates for all local pubs, and targeted support to tackle high energy costs to support the long-term survival of the hospitality industry. Thirdly, to instruct the leader of the council to write urgently to the Chancellor of the Exchequer, the Treasury and Derby's members of Parliament, one of them is here, sitting out of this council's position and demanding stronger targeted support for Derby's pubs and hospitality sector. Finally, we commit to explore how this council can work with local businesses, CAMRA and other stakeholders to support Derby's status as a brewing capital. This includes working closely with Head of Campaigns for Derby CAMRA and partnering with Marketing Derby to champion our rich brewing heritage and position Derby as a capital for real ale to potential investors. This is the only way to safeguard jobs, protect our communities, and ensure Derby remains the true capital of real ale. So I would urge every councillor in this chamber to back this motion. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Just for clarification, Councillor, both the MPs are here, not just one of them.
Only one of them is a Derby MP, though. Councillor Whitby is the MP for Derbyshire Dales in Derbyshire.
Councillor Wright, would you like to speak? Sorry, is it Councillor Hassan?
No, I'll formally second the motion, Mr. Mayor, and I'll reserve my right to speak. Thank you.
Any more speakers on this motion? Councillor Peakfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We all recognise the importance of Derby's pubs, breweries and hospitality businesses. They're not just economic assets, they're places where our communities meet, where local culture thrives and where the city's heritage is kept alive. There's no disagreement in this chamber about the value of this sector, nor about the seriousness of the pressures it faces. Indeed, my husband has been in the industry himself for 39 years. But if this motion is to lead to meaningful action, we must be honest about why the hospitality sector is facing such difficulty. After 14 years of Conservative austerity, cue the groans, people have been left with less disposable income, local services have been cut back, high streets across the county have lost investment and footfall. When people are struggling with bills, nights out become unaffordable and hospitality businesses feel the impact first. Then came COVID. Businesses were forced to close for months. Many took on heavy debts, and the government's approach was inconsistent. Do we remember Eat Out to Help Out? Sure, it gave a short-term boost, but we now know it contributed to rising infections, which led to further restrictions and greater uncertainty for businesses already on the edge. Many never recovered. Alongside these pressures, people's habits have changed. Home drinking is cheaper. Online retail has reshaped footfall. And the cost of living crisis continues to limit how people spend. So yes, Derby's hospitality sector needs support, and a Labour-led council and government is already doing a lot. We do support CAMRA, and we've welcomed the Real Ale Festival's return at the Museum of Making, a flagship celebration of Derby's brewing heritage. We're investing in the vibrancy and footfall of our city centre, delivering improvements that make Derby a better place to live, to work and to socialise. Through Marketing Derby, we are proud to back the Food and Drink Awards, which showcase the incredible talent of our local hospitality sector. And crucially, in our in-house visitor economy arm, Visit Derby, they play a major role in promoting Derby as a real ale capital, attracting visitors, travel reporters and influencers, strengthening our profile as a city with a proud and historic beer culture. We're also deeply committed to a safe and welcoming nighttime economy. Derby has once again achieved Purple Flag status, national recognition of our safe and well-managed city centre, an achievement built on partnership, investment and Labour values. These are real forms of support that help businesses survive today and thrive tomorrow. Our efforts directly support Derby's hospitality sector, and they demonstrate our ongoing commitment to strengthen our city's brewing heritage and pub culture. Mr. Mayor, there's much in this motion that we can support, but we can't endorse sweeping, unfunded cuts to VAT, national insurance or business rates. Not only would those cuts take billions out of public services, they also overlook the fact that the government has already announced targeted measures for pubs in the forthcoming budget, including a cut to draft duty, which gives them pubs a 14% duty advantage over supermarket beer. A permanent reduction in business rates for hospitality, that advantages smaller independents. A new national licensing policy framework and hospitality zones to ease planning barriers, and a targeted funding through Pub is the Hub. So although we know these measures do not go far enough, Labour has its own plans for economic renewal. But given the targeted support already announced, demanding sweeping national tax cuts on top is simply not responsible or credible. They would blow holes in public finances and undermine the very services hospitality businesses rely on. However, we can support the constructive elements of this motion. We support celebrating Derby's heritage as a brewing capital. We support working with CAMRA further, marketing Derby and Visit Derby to promote our hospitality sector. We support strengthening partnerships with local breweries and pubs, and we support championing Derby's real ale reputation locally and nationally. So while Labour cannot support unrealistic national tax cut proposals, we absolutely welcome the opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to Derby's pubs, breweries and hospitality businesses. We will continue working with all partners to ensure this vital sector not only survives but plays a central role in Derby's future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Petefield. Councillor Cuss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our group will be supporting this motion. Back in 2020, our group helped run a Save Derby Pubs campaign, which we sent a letter to the Department for Business, Paul Scully MP, so the Department for Business then, from Member of Parliament Paul Scully. The letter was supported by hundreds of residents who signed the e-letter along with publicans. During the campaign, one landlord said, "Our pub is a social hub for our community, from OAP and young people socialising, and should always be open for our older generation to get out." Which is very true, as pubs offer an important space for our communities and create local jobs across all our areas. The government needs to do more to support our pubs and local businesses. Hopefully the Chancellor will get the message so we all can celebrate with a cheaper drink in time for Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cuss. Councillor Kerr.
Thank you. It's easy to blame the past and people who've been gone before, but in this case, I think that it is more recent that has hit the hospitality industry. I think it isn't something that's been a drag from 10 years, 15 years ago, or even from COVID. I think it's something which has happened within the last year, and I think the biggest driver has actually been the change in the national insurance rate. And what that has also done is hit one of the routes that many young people have moved into their first jobs. And the fact that we've now got high levels of young people who are out of work is partly because hospitality is not able to employ those people. They can't afford the national insurance. And the way in which the national insurance sort of initial level has been introduced to try and protect smaller businesses doesn't really manage to do the job. So I hope that we do manage to write to the government as a result of this motion, and I hope that the flavour as to what is written can reflect aspects like that. I think it would also be good to encourage the government to think about things like online sales tax, which could be something that they could explore. I think the business rates is something, again, that more flexibility and support for could help. So while my personal view is that big changes to VAT probably won't make much difference, and I would put them lower down my priority list, there are things there that I think we should be addressing, and they need to be addressed nationally.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Councillor Chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just feel like I personally need to correct Councillor Mulhall. I'm Labour and I love fun. In fact, I get accused of having too much fun, and I was out in the city centre last night investing in our pubs. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. Councillor Banday, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We got quite a few pubs in Mackworth in New Zealand. And as a local councillor, I try my best to support those pubs, visiting them. And even I try to boost the trade, like sharing their events and all. There's a campaign being run by one of our local pubs. They are sharing this campaign. It's called Long Live the Local. And so far, 243,751 people have already signed. So there's a widespread concern amongst the pubs that the price of the pint is already very high. When we speak to businesses, and Councillor Smail will agree with me on that, the cost of producing the pint at the moment is quite high. The pubs are not making much on cold pint because there are so many costs involved in that. And if it continues to be like that, then the survival of the pubs will become really, really difficult. And I wanted to bring that up, but Councillor Kerr already brought it up, that this industry provides first job to a lot of people. And if the pubs continue to close at this rate, then we will have this big problem of the unemployment in the society is going to go high. So whatever we agree upon, I think we have a responsibility to write to the national government that something needs to be done before it gets too late. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pender. Councillor Dinser? Okay, Joe, do you want to circulate the copies? Has everybody got a copy? Yes? Emily, if I can just ask you to come in for a second, please, for your views, if you've been reviewed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have reviewed the proposed amendment and I am comfortable that it is acceptable. I'm satisfied that the overall direction of the motion is maintained and that it still pledges support to hospitality businesses and acknowledges the challenges the sector is facing. Whilst many of the amendments remove contextual information, which do not go to the substance of the motion. In addition, whilst the motion deletes the specific requests of government, it still requires the government to take action to protect the hospitality industry. I am therefore of the view that it is in order and can be legitimately moved by Councillor Dinser, if you are willing to accept it, Mr Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Dinser, do you want to speak on the amendment?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As has been already said by Councillor Peatfield, we support the intent of the original motion and we want to maintain that in this amendment. There is no doubt Derby is the capital of rail ale, and what successive administrations have done is to make sure that we continue to pursue the elements in this original motion and the amended motion about supporting our pubs and our nightlife. We have awards for encouraging that, and we also want to make sure that we work to continue to have the success of Mr Pickersgill's leadership and CAMRA in particular in terms of the events, annual events which will be happening in the city, which have made us a focus of promoting rail ale and pubs in general. However, Councillor Mulhall indicated that there's been a staggering reduction in pubs in the country as a result of some of the initiatives of the current government. I went to, and Councillor Kerr indicated something similar about how national insurance has impacted on this. We do know that COVID had an impact, but if we go back even further, pub closures have been happening for a long time. In 2015, under the previous government, 1,100 closed in 1 year, and in 16, 600. In 2017, 1,950 pub closures, net pub closures,
the highest in 25 years. And since then, every year there's been up to 400 net pub closures in this country, which is continuing now. So to put all this on the current government's budget decisions, solely on that is inaccurate and wrong, and history shows that to us. So the amendment is to make sure that we do not put forward ideas which, as Councillor Peatfield said, are unfunded, and the budget decision-making is coming next week, but the views and the strength of supporting, as Councillor Smale has experience of, and Councillor Nadine Peatfield's partner has a similar experience, and many of us who frequent our pubs to have food and drink.
Sorry, why is everybody looking at Councillor Chambers?
I'm not sure.
We will continue to do that. However, we have a rich history, a strong history of promoting pubs and the nightlife in Derby, and we will continue to do so. And so, therefore, the parts of the original motion which this group wants to support and will work hard to lobby government as well as do what we can here locally, will continue to do. And as indicated in the amended motion of the substantive motion. So I would put to everybody, including Councillor Kerr, who seems to think that the only impact has been by national insurance increases, that will make an impact, and if we reduce those, that will make a difference. History shows us that pub use is changing and is adapting, and the review that the government is looking at is to actually enhance and enable it to work more effectively in the current climate. So for that reason, I'll put this amendment in to say that let's go with the spirit of this motion, which is to say that we want to help promote pub and food providers in this city, and that we will work to lobby government to increase the support for initiatives like CAMERA and Rail Ale events that happen in this country. We've been successful in doing them in the past. We can continue to do that, and we will continue to lobby government to see how they can enhance what we've been trying to do here. So I commend this amended motion to the Chamber, and I hope that everybody can support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dinsmore. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Shanker. Do you speak?
Yeah, I'll speak now. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Dinsmore, for proposing a sensible amendment which keeps, I think, the spirit of the original motion, but just tidies it up, makes it a bit more realistic, and, as Councillor Mulhall said at the beginning, takes the politics out of it, but then I think he went on to mention the Labour Party and the government about 10 times, so I'm not sure where he's getting with that. And on behalf of Councillor Smale and being a landlord, but on behalf of every landlord across our city and other hospitality businesses, this is a really important motion, just ruined when Councillor Mulhall started getting a bit political. And if I could get £1 for every time I could take Councillor Mulhall seriously, I'd probably have about 20 pence now. He unfortunately ruined the motion by taking it down that route. Plans to replace the current business rate system for commercial properties is something the government's already announced with the fairer property tax, which will help all businesses in the hospitality trade. They're maintaining, in fact, increasing the discount multiplier for the year 26-27, which will save an average pub of about £3,300. So again, I think it's really important Councillor Mulhall has given us the opportunity to talk about that. The pub is a hub campaign, a really important campaign backed by the government to support local communities and their pubs. The community right to buy, again, another really important initiative helping local pubs. All of these are really important initiatives where government working with the trade helps the trade. And anybody who suggests that in any business, if it's pubs or any other business,
who suggest that the minimum wage is hurting them, I would say to them, you haven't got a viable business. Why should businesses make profit on the back of paying workers less than the minimum wage? So that is absolutely no defence whatsoever. I myself, Mr Mayor, have been visiting some of our local pubs across Derby South and how brilliant they are. The Needles I was at recently in Alveston, the Coach and Horses in Derby, the Brunswick Inn, Mr Pickersgill, and I know Councillor Dins has mentioned him already. He does a hell of a lot of work, not just in the pub he runs, but for the industry, and I'll be hosting him in Parliament soon, meeting CAMRA to see how we can help the industry more. Save the Pull campaign is something which we're helping CAMRA and other publicans with, because it's a really important initiative. So when people go to the pub and have a pint, they know the source of that pint. These are really, really important initiatives. The amendment that has been proposed by Councillor Dinser just pulls all this together, takes the politics out like Mr Mulhall said he wanted to do, and I think this is a motion now that the whole of this chamber can get behind, support the motion, but it then doesn't stop there. The way we really support our pubs is by frequenting them, going out there, promoting them in the work we do as local councillors, and helping the trade rather than just discussing it here, making a few political points and then just going home without going to pubs. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Shanker. Councillor Hassel.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Almost no surprise, I don't agree with this amendment. It's sort of the equivalent of a very weak, watered-down pint that we've been offered up here. It offers very little in the way of action, is what I'm saying. It seems Labour want to do all of the supportive stuff, but none of the actual supportive action that is needed to help support our pubs and the trade. Also, I would say at this point, Mr Mayor, I think we should all vote this down and carry on with the initial motion. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. So, Councillor Rawson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I do support this amendment because I think it takes out the political grandstanding that it included, and I don't think Councillor Mulhern can be surprised that we're not going to vote for that. And it also takes out the unrealistic tax implications, which it's all too easy to call for in opposition, but something quite different when you've actually got the responsibility for managing the economy. And I think the point's been made that this goes back a long way. The pub trade has been experiencing problems for many, many years. And in our wards in Chaddesden West and North, we've lost 4 of our pubs over the time the previous Conservative administration was in government. The Penguin, the Rocket, the Blue Boy, the Rhino. And there's only 1 pub left in to serve such a large population, which is the Paddock. So I think the important thing is to consider is the economy, and when people, ordinary working people, have got enough money in their pockets to be able to go out and actually enjoy a pint and enjoy some sort of social life, then that can only be to the benefit of the pub and hospitality trade, and that's what the government is seeking to do in clearing up the mess that was quite frankly left by the previous government, by increasing the minimum wage, by making sure interest rates can come down, creating that environment where people have actually got some money in their pockets to spend at the end of the week. Then that's the best thing, or one of the things that we can do to support the hospitality and the pub trade to get back on its feet. So I welcome the amendment, I support it, urge fellow councillors to do the same.
Thank you, Councillor Rawson. Councillor Poulter.
Mr Mayor, do you mind if I speak on the substantive motion once this amendment's resolved, please?
That's okay, yeah. Councillor Eyre, then Councillor Repton. Is it on the amendment, Councillor Eyre? Yes, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is quite pathetic, really, that we've got this in front of us. First of all, I don't think with any legitimacy you can say, let's take the politics out of this. By the way, it's all the last government's fault. If you don't understand the irony of that, I am not going to waste time trying to explain it to you. But I think it's important to look at what's been removed out of this motion by this amendment. The first thing we've done is remove the actual call on the government to do something by taking out that second paragraph. So by taking out the second recommendation. In other words, you're saying we agree with the status quo because we're not accepting this call on the government to change things. We're then saying, if we think about it, really, that goes against what the industry is saying. We've laid out the context. I don't think the context has really been disagreed with in the initial comments that have been made on the motion itself, that we accept that there is a crisis going on in hospitality. We've laid out in this amendment what those on the front line in the hospitality sector are saying, and you've taken that out as well. You've taken the context out of why this motion's here, and you've taken out the biggest call to do something. For me, that sounds like an acceptance that, well, everything's going okay then. I can't back that. I don't think anybody should back that. Let's vote this amendment down and get back to the serious business of the motion that's before us.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Repton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sadly, over the last 10 to 15 years, socialising and drinking habits have changed dramatically. It's reported that far less young people drink at all, and those that do drink don't drink anything like previous generations. Now, our health people, I'm sure, will say that's a good thing, but it does put a challenge on locals here in Derby and throughout the country. Over and above young people, we've seen over the last 10, 15 years, many people not going out as frequently as they used to do, supporting their locals in their areas. But in all communities where the pubs do connect with that community, they are thriving. Where they offer what local people want, they do not only survive, but they do thrive. And I think it's important for us to recognise the challenges that all the industry faces, over and above some of the pious motions that we can put forward here tonight. Let me ask this. Let councillors put their mouths where their motions are concerned, and let all of us get out tonight and support our locals. Who are here tonight, and let's have a show of hands, will be out supporting their local by buying a pint? I certainly will. Who else will? Not that many. I guess by that's probably about 10%. Well, it ought to be 50% plus. But that's the real problem that's facing us, Mr. Mayor. If we're not supporting our locals, who the hell will? And we should be leading by example. I certainly will, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Repton. Councillor Pearce.
When it closes again.
Thank you. Councillor Pearce.
I wasn't going to speak on this, Mr. Mayor, but the gentleman to my right has just wound me up again.
It's not like you, Martin.
Right. Martin, less of the personal comments, any more of that and I'll take you to standards, I'll tell you that now, right, in front of everybody. Don't you laugh either, right? I've had enough of this. Right, I didn't.
Can we just get back to the meeting, please, all of you? Councillor Repton, please.
I didn't. Right. I take these remarks that he's saying about young people don't do anything in this city. Young people do things in this city.
Can we just let him have his moment, please? Please. Councillor Pearce, carry on.
And why should they? Why should they? There is a different culture in this country now about drinking. Yeah. And I'm trying to explain things, Martin, thank you very much. If you'd let me listen...
Councillor Pearce, Councillor Repton, right. Do us a favour, please. Come on, you're old enough to know what's going on. Let me speak.
Some pubs are thriving because some pubs put on entertainment for the people that want to go into those pubs, right? Some pubs are thriving. The pubs that don't put on anything for the people to go there and be entertained fall down, right? You go to your pub, the Abbey. You're the landlord there, aren't you, Martin? I assumed you were, because you spend that much time on social media on it. But you're not allowed to do that, are you? That pub, yes, support your local. I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
Can I just, Councillor Pierce, just have a seat for a second. Councillor Repton, please. I don't know what you're playing at. Let me just, you've had your say. If you want to speak, please put your hand up and I'll let you speak after he's spoken. But give him the benefit of that and let him say his piece. Please. Councillor Pierce. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's just annoying, really, that people are, they're not getting the aim of this motion. The aim of this motion isn't to promote our pubs. It's not to promote the pubs for camera and everything like that. All that's being done, all that is being done, everyone's agreeing that's being done. And all this, on this, I totally agree with Councillor Eyre. It's a waste of paper. It's an absolute waste of paper. We are talking about what Councillor Kerr has said. There's not enough youngsters coming into this industry to support all those people that are putting the hours in. The kids want to get into these jobs in the industry. They can't do it because they can't get paid the right amount of money, because the national insurance, the pubs, you could go into a pub years ago and you'd have 5, 6, 7, 8 staff. Now you've got 2. Why is that? Because the pubs can't afford to run a pub like they used to years ago. That's why the culture's changing. I would love to go out with you tonight, Martin, but I'm at work at 4 o'clock in the morning, right? But I would take you up on that offer any time. I will put my hand up any time you offered to take us a drink. Thank you. And I'll agree with that. But that's all I've got to say, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Pierce. Are there any more speakers? Sorry, Councillor Swan, then Councillor Evans.
Yeah, we've all heard how important pubs are, and we know more than anything else, Martin, how important pubs are. The Darley Abbey pub, how long was it closed for? 4 years? 5 years. And what did we do? We got off our arse and we went out there and we campaigned for that pub to open. Now, our challenges weren't the fact that that wasn't going to be a viable option. Our challenges were that the brewery didn't want to open it. There are many pubs where breweries are putting profit over communities. And we can't change that. We literally managed 5 years of pushing and forcing the brewery in this particular situation to take note that this is an important community asset. So pubs have changed. And recently in Chellaston, the New Pin, again, another pub that had been closed for a very long time, that people have been fighting for their community to have this pub open. And guess what? It's extremely successful. There are always going to be businesses that will fall by the wayside that do not meet the needs of their communities anymore. And I think pubs, realistically, is one of those. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Swan. Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can't support this motion, this amendment to the motion. I do support the motion. It does substantively change it. It negates the motion. It's removing the VAT, the national insurance, the rates, and the energy costs implications of it. So really, it seems like, well, it's nearly a different motion. So no, I can't support it. I mean, the VAT, for instance, earlier, Lucy, Councillor Kerr, did say she doesn't think that's substantial. Well, it is. It is. If we think about it, some of us are old enough to remember VAT coming in the early 1970s. I was a boy, 2.5%. 2.5%. We can manage that. And everybody accepted it then. But look at it now, 20%. And then it's been expanded onto loads more products. So VAT is substantive in itself compared to back then. So we keep taking more and more off the people. They're on that hamster treadwheel, faster and faster. We take more and more and more. And yet we're having services cut and everything else diminished. And the pubs are a bastion. They're where we meet. That's why we are British now. That's what we're about. We meet in pubs and we talk and we converse. And they're so important. Yes, it has changed. Accept that. I do have one more confession to make. I am a vested interest. I'm a real ale drinker. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Peterfield.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I will speak to the amendment just briefly and just really to remind people what I said in my original speech. The government has already announced targeted measures for pubs in the forthcoming budget. So the opposition are acting as if we're saying that, you know, that there's nothing more to do or see here. The government already are acting. Firstly, a cut to draft duty. That gives pubs a 14% duty advantage over supermarket beer. Supermarket sales are part of the problem. That starts to address that. Now, if we reduce or remove VAT, national insurance and rates, etc., that benefits the national chains, the big pubs and businesses, far more than it ever would do the small independents that you're all talking about tonight. But the government has put a permanent reduction in business rates, for hospitality venues under £500,000 of rateable value. So that deliberately advantages the smaller independents. And while that is being introduced, there will be a 40% discount next year. Think about that. That is something that the government is doing that is targeting the hospitality sector really carefully. A new national licensing policy framework and hospitality zones to ease planning barriers. And a targeted funding through Pub is the Hub, which includes £440,000 to deliver more than 40 community pub projects. So that helps local communities to reopen those closed pubs like the Abbey and really, really give their own communities exactly what they want. So this amendment does call for the government to do more. It's not saying let's sit back and congratulate ourselves and say, well done, thank you very much. It is calling for the government to do more. But let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's recognise what is already being done and push for more. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peatfield. Are there any more speakers on this amendment? Right, all those in favour of the amendment then please show of hands. Thank you. All those against?
It's lost.
Amendment's lost. Going back to the substantive motion then, please. Councillor Poulter, you want to speak?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a short reference to Councillor Peatfield's initial contribution to the debate. I'd like to thank her for the recognition of the work of the public flag scheme within the city, without which we wouldn't have the many measures across the city that increase the public safety and the nighttime economy, such as the taxi marshals, the street pastors, safe and sound contributions, commitment to CCTV, radios for the doormen, doormen's organisations, commitment from the community safety team, the licensing team, and the bids. It's run on a partnership basis and makes a great contribution to the safety of the city centre. From memory, I think it was introduced about 14 years ago by a Tory administration in the city, but I wouldn't want to politicise the issue, of course. Moving on from that, you also referenced your commitment to the support for the Real Ale campaign within the city, so Derby Camera. But on this score, I'm a little confused in that I'm hoping that, and I will remind Councillor Peatfield later on in the negotiations for next year for the iconic beer festival in the city, I will remind her of the commitment to support that. But I hope when it comes to the point of negotiating the details, to be able to allow CAMRA to afford to run that campaign, she will bear those comments in mind, rather than what's happened in the past in terms of, for example, being overpriced and driven out of the assembly rooms, which was the heart of the beer festival for many, many years, by council charges. Then when it referred to the marketplace, again, the prices applied and the costs and the licences and the plugging into the electricity and everything else, and the waste and everything else that Derby Live could add to boost their funds, put the Camera Beer Festival in a position where it couldn't afford to run on the marketplace. So where have they had to run to? They've had to run to Cathedral Green. And lo and behold, what happens again? Derby Live and the council apply licensing charges, charge thousands of pounds to plug into one plug on Cathedral Green, get charged for this, that and the other waste and other services. That, all right, we accept there's charges, we accept the council's got costs, but charge what it costs. Don't go making a profit out of a volunteer organisation like this that adds to the economy and makes thousands and thousands of pounds for the city. So I welcome your support for CAMRA. I hope it's more realistic than it has been in the past. I will remind you next year when it comes, or this year, because it's the negotiations have already started. So be serious if you say you support CAMRA and the licensing trade in the city. Be serious and do it, rather than hide behind charges that Derby Live are allowed to apply. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Poulter. Councillor Pandey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick one. Councillor Peatfield mentioned the business rate relief of 40%, but in reality,
Sorry,
the business...
I think you've already spoken on...
Yeah,
you have. I can't accept it. Sorry, my mistake. Councillor Has... sorry, are there any more speakers before I go to the seconder? Councillor Evans.
Yeah. No, I
spoke on the amendment, not this one.
Yes, quickly, really. We've lost too many pubs in Derby, in and around Derby. We really have. And it's great to see the successful ones that reopen, like the one in Chellaston, near me. And we can't really afford to lose any more. So we should all be doing over and above what we can. Not just words that sound good and it's our intention, but actual physical things here, changing things like VAT and so on. It seems to me that we've got Wetherspoons in Derby, Standing Order and the Badminton Arms, is it? They're the two pubs where you buy beer at half the price of anywhere else. So if we're not careful, what we'll end up with is those two pubs as bastions and everywhere else closed, or franchise Wetherspoons everywhere. Now, we don't want that. We want the tradition that we've spoken about. So really, I'd encourage everybody to support this motion, really, and send a clear message to the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Are there any more speakers before I move over to the seconder? Thank you. Councillor Hassel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't prolong the debate any further than it needs to, really. I think we all acknowledge the real value that pubs play in the city and across the country. And it's the pub is something that we all have in common, actually. We've all got a pub in our wards, whether we use them or not, probably Martin more so than everyone else. And that's to be celebrated, you know. But these are more than just places to go and drink. They're places that we debate, we have the banter, we fall out, we make up, we grieve, we do all them things in the pubs. And they're such a special thing, and they are a dying asset to our communities. And we really should do all we can to protect those. And this motion does that. I mean, the amendment that came before was slightly shameful, I have to say. It really did remove the thrust of some real positive action. You know, we're not here to stand in front of pump sticks on a bar and have a selfie. We want to have things done properly and some action from the government. And the government, I have to really sort of contradict you there. The government can do things about pubs. If you know anything about the pub trade, the pub tie issue where you know, landlords are tied into breweries and have to buy from specific places, the government can undo that. And there's people in this room who can make representation to that, and that can be undone. And that's a real positive move that really does need looking at. And I will look at you know, the MP representative in the room who can do something really positive on that. It's an appalling thing if you do look into it. So, Mr. Mayor, I think without further ado, let's all come together. Let's prove Derby is the place for real ale and the place for Martin to enjoy himself every night at the Abbey, and Councillor Chambers with the sound of it in various pubs. And wouldn't it be marvellous, Mr. Mayor, if these meetings were held in a pub? How much better would that be? And maybe that's a motion for next time. But in all seriousness, please come together, please put your hand in the air, and please do something positive for our pub trade. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hassel. All those in favour of the original motion? Any against? That's carried, thank you. Next item, item 12, demand for a statutory public inquiry into the murder of Govinder Singh Jal and systematic failures in public protection. Before we go any further with this motion, can I first of all thank Councillor Smale and Councillor John Wright on behalf of the family for bringing this motion. It's obviously he's a personal friend of mine. It's a very sad day for us in our city of Derby that we're having this discussion, but unfortunately due to the society we are living in at the moment, that's just the way it is. So first of all, on behalf of this chamber, I'd like to send out my condolences to the Johar family, Danny and his parents, his wife and his beautiful kids, who have lost a loved one, and we also who have lost a friend. This motion isn't going to bring back a loved one, a son, a husband or a dad, but it just goes to show that we do care. And we do care because we don't want something like this reoccurring in our great city in the very near future or further afar. So if you could accept that from me as a chair, and over to you, Councillor Smith. So once again, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor and councillors, I rise as the proposer of this motion with a heavy and solemn heart, mindful of the grievous loss suffered by the family of the late Govinder Singh Jal, known to so many as Danny. On the 6th of May this year, Mr. Jal, a devoted husband, father of 3, a hard-working business owner in our city, and a respected member of our community, was stabbed to death whilst waiting in the queue at Lloyds Bank branch on St. Peter Street. This chamber must recognise the profound grief of the Jal family. Their world has been torn apart, their sense of safety shattered. We owe them the compassion, our solidarity, and critically, our action. Mr. Mayor, this motion is not about routine procedural business. In fact, I want to pay thanks to both yourself, Mr. Mayor, and Councillor Steve Hassel on what you believe is the right thing to do by calling for an independent public inquiry. Whilst this motion sets out in detail what must be done, it is, at its core, an urgent call to restore accountability, public protection, and faith in the systems that are meant to keep Derby safe. I ask councillors from all political groups to support it wholeheartedly. This is not and must not become about a political point-scoring moment. This is about the people of Derby. It is about having a systemic failure so serious that it allowed a clearly high-risk individual to travel, make repeated crisis calls, and then commit an utterly random and brutal act of violence in the heart of our city. Mr. Mayor, I would like to take you through 6 points on why I believe this motion should go through. 1, a statutory independent public inquiry. The motion calls for a statutory public inquiry under the Inquiries Act 2005. And that independent and full powers to compel evidence. That inquiry must examine the failures across policing, immigration control, asylum and resettlement systems, accommodation providers, mental health and safeguarding services, along with emergency responses. It must ask why multiple warning signs included repeated calls made less than 2 hours before the murder did not trigger a meaningful intervention. On those calls, which were made to charity Migrant Help, the perpetrator made threats to kill and expressed severe distress. Only a statutory inquiry, independent of the agencies under scrutiny, can offer transparency to the Jal family and to help restore public trust. Number 2, serious cross-European antecedents. Mr. Mayor, the sentencing remarks was quite telling, and reporting show that the perpetrator left Somalia in 2016 and over several years lived in or passed through Libya, France, Luxembourg, Germany and Italy before ultimately arriving in the UK. He had been convicted in Italy of robbery, assault occasioning actual bodily harm and resisting a public official. He was known to police in Germany, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg for various incidents and arrests, though not always convicted. Media reporting has described him as having police records or contacts in 4 European countries prior to entering the UK. Despite this, he arrived here by a small boat in 2024, claimed asylum and was later refused, but remained in the UK under immigration bail, living in Home Office provided accommodation in Derby. The motion rightly demands answers about international information sharing, border security, risk assessment, and interagency oversight. How could someone with that history enter, remain, and ultimately commit such an act to our streets? Number 3, Mr. Mayor, rebuilding public confidence in Derby. A random broad daylight murder in a busy city centre bank at 2:30 p.m. shakes a community to its core. Derby residents deserve reassurance that action will follow. This motion states clearly that public confidence has been damaged and that this tragedy sits alongside community concerns about violence and antisocial behaviour in the city. Public trust can only be restored through openness, accountability and meaningful reform. Number 4, cross-agency learning and meaningful local action. As set out in the motion, this council will work with Derbyshire Police, the Home Office, national oversight bodies and local services to ensure full cooperation with a statutory inquiry. We will seek improvements in how risk is assessed, monitored and escalated across asylum accommodation, migration support, policing, health and mental health services. Our duty is to ensure that no family ever experiences a preventable loss like this again. Number 5, unity across political lines. I appeal to every councillor, whatever your party or philosophy, to support this motion. A husband, a father, and a Derby business owner has been taken from his family and from this city. Our response must be united, determined, and principled. By backing this motion, we show that Derby stands together, that we will seek the truth, hold agencies to account, and rebuild public trust. Finally, Mr. Mayor, number 6, why this inquiry is essential, not optional. Internal reviews are not enough. The scale and seriousness of this systemic failure demand a statutory independent public inquiry. Only such a process can ensure transparency, compel evidence, and deliver structural recommendations to prevent a tragedy like this from ever happening again. This is exactly what this motion calls for. It is what we must support. Mr. Mayor, as you've just stated, no vote taken today can bring Danny back. No sentence can replace a loving husband and father, but we can ensure that his death is not dismissed as unavoidable. We can ensure it becomes a turning point for accountability and reform. I therefore urge this chamber to support this motion in full. The call for a statutory public inquiry, the cross-agency review, and the commitment to public reporting and meaningful reform. Let us show the Jahal family and the City of Derby that we stand with them and that we will act. Mr. Mayor, I respectfully propose this motion to the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Small. Councillor Wright, do you wish to speak as a seconder?
I reserve my right, please, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Shanker, you put your hand up to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first time I met Govinda, Danny, and his father was at the opening of the Hen and Chickens pub on Symphony Avenue in Cheltenham Lock back in February last year. Danny had invested heavily, both financially and personally, to create a warm, welcoming place where local people could eat, drink, meet, and some find good quality homes above the pub. It was only the first time I met Danny, yes, but from that very first conversation and from every other interaction we had afterwards, one thing was always clear. Danny was a genuinely decent man. We met several times in the 18 months or so after that. We spoke often, and the conversations were nearly always about one thing: how he could help local causes, how he could support volunteers, how he could give something back. He worked hard, he cared deeply, and he simply wanted to do well for his family and his community. The events of the 6th of May this year are almost impossible to put into words. The impact is even harder to comprehend, most of all for Danny's immediate family, his wife and 3 lovely children, his parents, and his sister and brother-in-law, who live here in Derby and are also dear family friends. When I travelled to the West Midlands to see Danny's family, just days after his horrific murder, and then again when I attended his funeral, the scale of the grief was matched only by the scale of the respect people had for Danny. The number of mourners who gathered spoke louder than any speech ever would. Danny was well liked, deeply respected, and quite simply a good man. I could stand here and speak about Danny, about his family, for much longer than a few minutes that I have. But I want to turn to the motion before us, because I met again with Danny's sister and brother-in-law over the last few days and the weekend. And it's vital that anything we do in this chamber reflects the wishes of his family. Above all else, their comfort and their consent must come first. The family have concerns, and I understand them totally. They have questions about the certain aspects of the police investigation. They believe, as I do, the sentence handed down is far too short. And they want to be sure the man responsible for Danny's murder serves an entire sentence here in the UK. Let me be absolutely clear on behalf of the family and on behalf of our city. I am actively working on all 3 of these points. As per the family's wishes, I have already written to the Attorney General, formally requesting the sentences reviewed. I've also written to the Home Secretary to request the whole of the offender's sentence is served here in the UK and nowhere else. And I have approached the IOPC after Derbyshire Police self-referral following this tragedy. I will keep the Council informed of any developments, always with the family's permission and always at the appropriate time for them. I ask every member in this chamber to respect the wishes, the feelings, and above all, the dignity of the family. The toll this has taken on them is unbearable. Media headlines just last week, headlines prompted by this motion, did not help in the slightest. Some may feel they are doing the right thing, and I must tell you gently but firmly, you're not. This evening, I'll be proposing an amendment, one which I hope every member of this council can support. It is based directly on my discussion with Danny's family. And out of respect, I provided them the full wording of what I have said here this evening. The monitoring officer may decide this motion negates the original motion. However, I would ask you, Mr. Mayor, maybe a short adjournment so group leaders can get together, review the amendment in the context of the family's wishes, and maybe accept that motion as a way to proceed.
Thank you, Councillor Shankar. Do we have the copy of the amendment? Yeah, if I could just get Emily to address the meeting. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The proposed amendment was shared with me this afternoon, and I have already considered its content and advised the mover. I advise the mover that the proposed amendments negate the motion and are therefore, in my view, not in order. The rationale for my decision is the motion as moved was the specific aim is to request a statutory public inquiry into the events surrounding Mr. Johal's murder. However, the proposed amendment removes that requirement in its entirety and in this aspect, the motion fundamentally changes its nature and negates the purpose of it. It is therefore my view this is not in order, and on that basis, as drafted, would advise you not to permit it to be moved, Mr Mayor. However, I note Councillor Shanker's request, and it is open to you, Mr Mayor, to agree with his request for to move for a short adjournment so that group leaders can work up an alternative form of words, but as currently drafted, I would advise you not to permit the amendment as drafted.
That's fine. I'll take Emily's advice and we'll stick with the original motion. Is there any more speakers on the original motion?
Councillor Baggy has 24 seconds.
You've got 24 seconds, Councillor Shanker.
I once again request, Mr Mayor, you call the adjournment so group leaders can discuss this. I would disagree with the Monitoring Officer's view. The amendment talks about circumstances that we all agree on that have happened, and the proposed way forward is in line with the family's views rather than this council's views. It still offers a way forward, just not the one in the original motion.
Thank you, Councillor Shanker. That's fine. We'll carry on with the... Thank you, Councillor Shanker. We'll carry on with the original motion. Councillor Kerr wants to speak, and then Councillor Peatfield.
Excuse me, Mr Mayor, but an amendment's been proposed, and I wish to second it. You're not accepting it.
The Monitoring Officer is not accepting it, so we're not accepting that.
It's the Mayor's view that I provide.
Can I, Mr Mayor?
Councillor Peatfield, just 1 second.
I provide you with some advice. So I've been asked to consider, like I do every amendment that's brought forward, I consider it and consider whether it's in line with our constitutional requirements. As drafted, it does negate the motion as drafted. That advice was provided earlier. I provided advice to the Mayor. It's his call ultimately as to whether to allow the motion or not, or to agree to Councillor Shanker's request. And that is the advice that I provide, and that's the advice that the Mayor has taken at this point.
Mr Mayor, may I politely request whether the leaders of the opposition parties would like to discuss this further, considering the gravity of this, considering the wishes of the family? I believe that we all deserve the opportunity to just pause and reflect for a moment. Thank you.
Okay, I'll ask the opposition leaders, are you all prepared to have a 10-minute adjournment so you can discuss this, or do we carry on as we are? Councillor Hassel, over to you first. Conclude afterwards.
Mr Mayor, I'm not talking on the motion, I'm talking on this issue. I find it highly inappropriate that Councillor Shanker should bring this without talking to the mover of the motion prior to the meeting. Surely that would have been the way to do it, rather than hijack the meeting in this way. All I would say is that a request to the government has already been made. That cannot be undone, because I've done it. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Evans, would you like to say anything?
Councillor Cuss.
Sorry, Councillor Cuss, I beg your pardon.
Basis on that, then I don't see there's a need for adjournment.
Councillor Ingle, Councillor Kerr.
I would like to know what it is that Councillor Shanker is concerned that the family is concerned about, because I do think that the family is fairly central to this. But I also accept that if we are to take learning from an event like this, so that nothing like this happens again, or the risk of something like this is reduced, then a public inquiry might be the best way of doing it.
Councillor Shanker, I'm more than happy to award you some extra time if you want to elaborate on your comments previously, if that helps.
Well, I don't want to elaborate further in open session. I think, like I said, I think group leaders could meet. It allows me to talk to the group leaders in a little bit more detail about the family's wishes. I've highlighted the family's wishes as best I can and what they've allowed me to say in public. But I think it's a sensible request, Mr Mayor, and I see the Monitoring Officer is putting this on your shoulders now, which rightly so, as chair of this meeting, you should be able to call an adjournment. We've had a number of adjournments in recent meetings on much less important issues than this, and I just don't see why we should be protracting this debate on calling a 5-minute adjournment just so group leaders can get together. The call is yours, Mr Mayor, and not the monitoring officers.
Thank you, Councillor Shanker. Okay, if I could ask for a 10-minute adjournment, and if I could ask the group leaders to come into the Mayor's Parlour, please. Thank you. Thank you. Have a seat. Thank you for your patience, everybody, in the not 10-minute adjournment, but 20-minute adjournment. Right, we can return to the debate, please. Councillor Kerr.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move a motion without notice under CP 42K to adjourn the debate to the January meeting of full council so that we can confirm the detail of the ask to government.
Do I have a second? Councillor Ingle. Anybody wish to speak on it? Councillor Ralston, did you put your hand up?
Anyone in favour?
All those in favour?
That's agreed.
That's agreed. Thank you. That concludes our business for the meeting this evening. Before we conclude, I would like to wish you all councillors, officers and residents a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I look forward to seeing you all at the next meeting in early January. Thank you. Have a safe ride home.